Great sound quality. It sounds like computer sound. Got it. Okay. Let's push back. Let's push back a little bit because I'd like to get to know Jordan a little bit before we start. Can we sort of reset for 5 minutes? Yeah, 3:30. Yeah, 3:38 is great because we need to go live. Yeah. All right, fantastic. Thank you, sir. Super cool. All right, so the on the notes, the I've got just a handful of questions. Actually, three to be exact.
Perfect.
Right. So the the focus of this is to for people to see you. Right. So it's about your values and where you come from. My the first question is just open ended. Who are you? And it is many people may define themselves by the job or role they have, but that's not who you are, right? And then we'll meander from there for about 20, 25 minutes. I'm Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert, and welcome to one of the funnest times of my day. It's talking to super cool humans on things they're doing and figuring out how they live their values. And we are in store for a very cool episode. I want to bring onto the stage Jordan Schindler. Jordan, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Mitchell. Excited to be here. Should be fun.
I am absolutely looking forward to it. And I do have a sort of softball question I like to open up the show with. And that is, who are you?
I'm Jordan Schindler, founder and CEO of Nufabrx, true entrepreneur at heart. From early days, you could find me sort of selling all my parents' possessions at garage sales or trying to set up lemonade stands in the street, and sort of found my way here.
All right. I love that. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But you're more than that. Like, what is Jordan? Like, who are you to your friends or family or loved ones?
Yeah, I mean, I would say very much sort of driven, very innately curious. Love to travel and explore the world, and I think that's something that tends to show up in my entrepreneurial career path as well, of just new ways of doing things, simpler ways of doing things, questioning the status quo, because sometimes there is a better way to do things, and that's ultimately led to the company and foundation of what we do today.
So, do you have a strong friend network, family network? Tell me a little bit more about the core of Jordan.
Yeah, the core of Jordan grew up in sort of Tucson, Arizona. That's where my family still lives. And then wanted the polar opposite of hot Arizona and went to college in Seattle for the rain. And then I guess sort of wanted the next differential transition and came out to the Carolinas. So we're based outside Charlotte, where most U.S.-made garments are made. And most people don't realize that, but all the garment production is typically here in North Carolina and South Carolina. And so set up shop here in the Carolinas, didn't know anyone, but that's what made sense for our business and the direction we were trying to go. So I would say for me, sort of very, very close family, very close friends, and ultimately I consider my work colleagues, my friends as well.
Very cool. How long have you been in Charlotte?
I've been in Charlotte a little over 5 years now. So that's practically a native in terms of Charlotte, where you don't meet a lot of local people from Charlotte. Everyone tends to be a transplant, but great city, great weather, great cost of living. Very, very happy to be here. The friendliest people you'll ever meet.
I'm in Silicon Valley, so we have the opposite of
Yeah.
Nice cost of living.
I've got a buddy in San Francisco, and here's some horror stories about cost of living and what you get for your money out there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's horror stories, but it actually, if you're living here and want to buy in, it always seems way out of line. That's amazing. All right, so I was curious when you talked about garage sales, selling your parents' stuff. What was the most precious thing of your parents you actually did sell?
Yeah, that's a great question. I also weirdly had some fascination with like old school cameras and typewriters that I thought were incredibly valuable, that in most cases were worth pretty much nothing. So my parents had some old cameras that I sold, and I was convinced they were worth hundreds of dollars. I'm pretty sure I might have parted with them for $20 after hearing a lot of no's. So I think that there was a lot of that, life lessons and learnings. And then I think sort of the first success from a business standpoint actually took an early trip down to Hong Kong and went to an electronics market. And this was early days of MP3 player business, and saw some MP3 players, bought them in Hong Kong, brought them back to the US and sold them on eBay and made a little money. And I think that sort of sparked the true entrepreneurial passion, and not just losing money, that you could actually make a couple dollars.
So is this so I see you're part of EO.
Yeah.
So tell me how EO helps you.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's very much, as a CEO, you're sort of lonely at the top, for sort of to use a cliche. I think there's a lot of things that you just can't talk about with your team, whether it's sort of cash flow or funding or hiring and firing examples. And so for us, and for me, it's great to have a peer network that has no stake in the game, right? They are running similar businesses in different industries. And I've learned a whole hell of a lot. It's been interesting to see sort of in businesses that are totally unrelated. Like one of the guys runs a candle business, and another one runs a People Suite, a software business. And so even still in businesses that are totally unrelated to us, they have the same people issues, they have the same cash flow issues, they have the same HR issues. And so you can really see all of the parallels with other businesses. And it's really something that has made me feel sort of less alone in this journey, because it really is universal across a lot of different businesses, as I'm sure you know with everything that you've built.
Oh, well, one of the things I've been able to do is for a decade, I ran 4 different CEO networking groups.
Love it.
And so I was just curious. And yes, and actually out of that came one of the books we wrote was It's Lonely at the Top.
Yeah.
By definition, right? Yeah, it's very interesting. So what got you interested in the current, do a quick summary of the current business. And I'm kind of curious what got you interested in that.
Yeah, and I think sort of on brand here, the aha moment, I think is where we typically start. Suffered from bad skin in college and learned about the link between your pillowcase and bad skin. And so as you sleep, dirt and oil builds up, clogging your pores, and ultimately went to the dermatologist and was recommended to wash my pillowcase 2 to 3 times a week, which, as you can imagine, as a college-age male, was absolutely never going to happen. We're 10 years.
I'll agree with that.
No, I'm gonna say, right, we're 10 years later and it's still not going to happen. But that's what got me thinking about how do you create a benefit from a garment or fabric, something that contacts your skin all day, every day. And so that was really the foundation for our core technology. And so ultimately that evolved into this technology where we can deliver vitamins, supplements, medications through your clothing and do it through numerous wash cycles. And so it really solves this idea, like myself, of patient compliance. We're all busy. We forget to take pills or use creams. Hard to change consumer behavior, but we all get dressed every single morning, and clothing contacts our skin all day, every day. And that's this healthwear category we've pioneered.
Well, at least you don't have a inroad into nudist camps, but other than that, you're doing good.
Yeah, there you go. That's not a target market. Although I will say there's all sorts of other textile products you touch: carpet, couches, your car. So you never know. There's some other potential opportunities there.
Yeah. Let's not go there. Okay, I hear.
All right. We've
Now, is this post college? Is this that first big job, or what else did you do?
This is my only job that I've ever had. So I don't know anything better. So I started this actually in college. Got a degree and was doing this more interestingly during college in my dorm room. So I've been doing it for the last 10 years. And then it's what actually brought me out to the Carolinas, is very quickly realized we were in the textile industry, but didn't understand textiles. And so went out to Charlotte, where most US made garments are made. And here we've set up shop.
Nice. Okay. So you've learned locally the quality of the quality of the character of the people you're working with. You're around the positions. How, from a culture perspective, tell me about how does it feel? A lot of times when you move to a new city, you don't really feel like you're one of the in crowd. Now, you already said you've been here for 5 years and you're a veteran. How did that transition happen?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, every city, I think, has its own culture. And I think we've tried to do the same and translate it to our business. So from a business standpoint, we call it our core fibers. So instead of our core values, we probably think we're more clever than we are. But
no, I kind of like it.
All right, we'll take it. It's sort of what are the 4 or 5 things that really matter to us as an organization. And like, number 1, F is fun, right? Like, we spend so much of our time at work. If you don't like what you do and who you work with, I think that's a travesty. And I think there's a lot of people, way too many people, that sort of are caught in the hamster wheel or ultimately haven't found their passion. And so I really want this to be a part of who works at Nufabrx and ultimately how we interact with people. And I'll give you an example is we try to just think about what is the most off the wall ideas that we can do for team building. And we'll let our team suggest things they like doing. Last week we went to a rage room. I don't know if that's made it out to the Bay Area yet, where you literally go and just smash TVs. And it's a great way to sort of let off some steam, but also just interact with your team in a new way that you wouldn't otherwise have on a daily basis.
That's kind of fascinating. So your core fabrics, okay. What for those who are watching live, you get to benefit from the fact and get a laugh at my expense. I'm actually in Silicon Valley in Cupertino, and the internet actually has been going down every now and then. And so it is one of those that you're somewhere else in the world and you're thinking Silicon Valley is like everything is always sort of perfect and squeaky clean, and it's not. So my apologies. So Jordan, I'm glad to be back.
I was enjoying time listening to the outro theme. No worries.
So the question I had asked was, what are some of the company core fabrics in terms of instead of core values, right?
Yeah, number one, right? We start with fun, and I think we talked about that of how do we enjoy going to the office and enjoy what we do every day. And then the next one is the B, right? It's believe, trust the team, right? It's not sending 20 follow-up emails every day because you trust that it's going to get done, right? It's how do you make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction. I think the next one we talk about is resilience. So how can we ultimately react quickly to opportunities? How can we innovate? How can we create new product opportunities? And then it's test, it's learn, it's iterate. And then the last one's actually my favorite is success happens together. We're all a team, we're all a family. And that shows up in terms of our organization, in terms of stock. All employees get stock in the company because everyone should be part of that upside. When the company wins, all their hard work contributed to that, and they should benefit from that upside.
Oh, FTRS?
It's core fibers. So we do FBRS. So it's I'll tell you stories. We actually had we had all 6 of them, and no one could remember all of them. And I read some book, I think it was The Program, on like military leadership, and it was saying that people can only remember typically 4 things, 4 or 5, and so we shortened it.
I was gonna go. I typically like to go with either 3 or 5, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so we shortened it. Now people can remember them, so now they're a lot more useful to folks than some tag on a wall that no one ever looks at.
Have you done a post with those yet? I'd love to include them in the show notes.
I think we've got some marketing collateral that we can certainly send you for sure. There's we have a picture of a yarn spool and how your core fibers all roll together to create value.
Well, I love the construct of being able to deliver whatever it is, either vitamins or medicine or pain relief, doing it through clothing, particularly at different for different age groups that may not be so consistent at being able to take. What have you found?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, that's another sort of way in how I got here is my grandpa unfortunately suffered from Alzheimer's for a number of years, and he could never remember to take his medications. But interestingly, he still put on a sock every single morning, right? And it's just built into our human nature that we get dressed, and we all use creams, right? We've all stuck on patches, and in this case, you actually get that consistent dose, whether it's pain relief in a knee sleeve or melatonin in a pillowcase, right? You don't have to take an action. And that's the biggest value here in terms of solving for patient compliance.
So what's a typical management meeting like? Given that you don't use core values and you use core fibers, what it must be, and that you have this trust that you let people do their own thing. What's a typical management meeting like?
I think we do things a little bit differently, and I think intentionally so, where we've got thought leaders that sort of are their domain experts. I'm not a scientist. I can assure you of that, right? I'm the sort of entrepreneurial passion, visionary guy. And it's very much of what do we need to get the job done, and then let's go execute against it. So, for example, like we'll do 15-minute meetings, right, instead of an hour. And then one of the things that we've learned is typically that meeting will fill up however long you set the calendar invite for. I can't tell you how many meetings where we set it for an hour and a half. And coincidence, the meeting takes an hour and a half, right? And then we set that same meeting for 15 minutes, and the meeting takes 15 minutes. And so I've been trying to get a lot better in terms of our meeting structure on what do we really need to accomplish and how do we actually execute the goal, and just always try to learn and iterate and see what are the things that really matter most. I'm reading a book now called Essentialism, which I really like as well and have implemented across our management meetings of like, what are the 2 or 3 things that are going to matter 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now? I think like any startup, but especially because it's this platform technology, there's so many things we can do. Every day we get approached by a new brand or a new apparel partner looking to do a Rogaine hat or an athlete's foot sock. And so we really have to prioritize there. And so really focusing on those 2 or 3 meaningful tasks has helped us prioritize as an organization.
That's fascinating. I would definitely, I'd like to see more of these aha moments of business rules that you're putting in place that's different than conventional wisdom.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was thinking about one of our meetings that takes an hour because it's scheduled for an hour.
Yeah, always.
and I started thinking to myself, if we made that a half hour, would we get our stuff done in a half hour? And I'm thinking the answer is yes.
I bet. I mean, I can't tell you. And then the other thing I've started doing is I'll actually just schedule them back to back, so I don't have a choice, right? Like a lot of cases, the meeting's going to run long because I'm like, oh, I have nothing after this. But if you schedule 15, 15, 15, I assure you that meeting gets done in 15 minutes, right? You might lose some of the chit chat at the beginning of the meeting, but like you're going to be a lot more efficient and effective as a leader. The other thing I've started doing is trying to set just in my calendar critical thinking blocks. One of the things I realized is that I do not spend enough time sort of out of the office. It's always sort of email, phone, text, right? Podcast. And so it's this constant whir of notifications. And I realized that some of the most valuable contributions I need to make to the organization is just to spend time thinking. So I'll leave my phone. Actually, this sounds silly, but I actually have 2 jars on my desk for dollars that I put in when I do critical thinking time or when I don't. And then it's just an incentive for how to do this. It's like the paperclip analogy. I'll tell you, I'm pretty much even. I haven't actually made any money yet, but it's a nice incentive to actually try to get out of the office. I don't need to be on my phone all day. And those are some of the most productive insights that I've actually gotten.
So Garen, say this again. So Jordan, you actually put, when you're in your critical thinking, you put $1 in which bucket?
Yeah. So here you go. I've actually got it. And then I want a scooter, so you can actually see the scooter. It reminds me of. So when I've got my scheduled critical thinking time, and so the problem was I would always skip it, or a meeting would always come up, or an email would come up, and I would never do it. And so I was trying to think about a way where I will actually be motivated to do this. And so I'm like, just the fact of putting in $1 in a jar makes me a lot more likely to do it than, hey, there's no consequences. And I know inherently that critical thinking time is important, but that doesn't make it easy to do, I assure you.
Oh, how much critical thinking time do you think you need a day?
Oh, I see. Man, I've been working my way up. I tried to do 15 minutes a week is what I started at, and I would still skip it, as embarrassing as that sounds. And so now I've worked my way up to an hour twice a week is what I've been trying to target. And again, I sort of probably do it 1 hour a week. I think it hit or miss depending on calendar, but I really try to make time every week because it's super important to reprioritize my day and my week.
That's interesting. Now, is that something that you don't do at EO?
Not really. I mean, we do a little bit, but it's very structured. So yes, there's sort of key learnings and key projects that we're focused on, but it's not just like sitting. Like to me, I'm going to go walk outside, walk in the park and just like sit with a notebook. My phone doesn't come, my computer doesn't come, and just sit, right? I don't have a specific task or goal. It's just see where my thoughts take me. And then I end up writing down pages and pages of notes of things floating around in my head that I needed to write down or hadn't thought about. But then usually there's sort of some crystal, right? After you get all that floating stuff out of your head, there's usually some insight that forms.
We've been for 22 years, we take a month off. We typically rent a house in Europe and then have friends and family come visit. And that time frame is a time where I do a bulk share of the critical thinking the way you've defined it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And kudos to you for doing that. I mean, I think there's like a Steve Jobs example, right? Or Bill Gates of like every other week they go and have their reading week, right? And they spend time just reading and learning. I think is so important.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm kind of thinking I like the bundling it into a very focused time. I guess maybe some people do it when they're running. I do it when I'm on the elliptical machine. That's interesting. I love that. So here's what I got for you so far.
Okay.
You definitely are, as I'm listening to you, you feel like this authentic self. You feel like you have integrity, both inside and out, right? You seem coachable. These are all elements of in the trustworthy area, and to being known. You clearly have the intent and commitment to do the right thing and to serve others, which is kind of cool. And then we haven't talked yet about we haven't talked about spreading cred dust.
Yeah, we'll get
respect. But even doing what you're redefining how it works in the office, you're showing respect. Tell me a little bit about cred dust.
I think credibility is so important, right? And it's a lot of the things that you talk about is authenticity. And practice what you preach. And I think that's very much, I started this company to solve a personal need. And so I'm inherently incentivized to do that. Right. And I live and breathe it every day. And so it's the intangibles, right? You can't really point to it, but I think it's making sure that, hey, there's something on the floor, right? I'll pick it up. Right. It's as an entrepreneur that started from an employee with one, right, to 50 plus, you wear so many different hats, right? One day you're the CEO, one day you're the janitor, one day you're the sales guy. And so having grown up with that, I think I have more of an appreciation for every single thing, right? And it all ultimately comes together to add value. And that's just how I feel, right? Like if something on the ground, I'm going to pick it up because it shouldn't be there. And ultimately, I think that's part of what I try to portray as a leader is just that vision and that credibility long term.
It's do the right thing. I absolutely love that. This was amazing. Is there a question that I should have asked you that I didn't?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll limit it to one. But I think the question that I love is sort of where do you see the future of clothing going, right? Where do you see new technology evolving in the space?
All right. I like that question. So
yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Take that as you've asked yourself that question.
Yeah. And so for us, right, we see the day where people are not going to the store and buying garments simply based on style or color or brand, but based on what health benefit they actually want from your garment, right? When you get dressed tomorrow, think about what benefit your socks are giving you or your t-shirt, right? Do you want a moisturizing benefit or a pain relief or a sleep benefit? And ultimately, that's where we see the future of wearables and healthware going.
Man, I have to tell you, you painted a really beautiful picture that I'm saying, get there faster. I want that. That sounds great. I could so see
We're
it.
working on it. We're going as fast as we can.
I could so see it. I absolutely love it. Hey, listen, if this was of interest to you and you want to get involved in some way or learn a little bit more about Jordan and who he is and what he does, Jordan, how best can people reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm always happy to chat with folks, fellow entrepreneurs, people that I can help, or vice versa. LinkedIn is the best tool, just at Jordan Schindler. Pretty easy to get in touch with, or you can check us out at nufabrx.com.
Oh, fantastic. Nufabrx.com. Hey, let's throw that URL on the page. That would be great. Jordan, I am very impressed with who you are and what you've done so far in your life. And I absolutely am looking forward to a day where I'm wearing the outfit for you, truly for utility purposes, which is really what that's all about.
That day's coming faster than you think.
Oh, everything comes faster than I think, which I love that. But yeah, no, this one I could see it. It's really powerful. For me, what I want to share is, listen, if this is of interest and you liked or loved how Jordan showed up, which I did, it's important for you to show up credibly. It's important for you to show up credibly, both online and offline, in a way that people really can understand who you are. And we've got the Ultimate Credibility Bootcamp. Our next session is, we do this quarterly, and so you could take a look at the website and see when our next session is. Would love to have you come and join us, and that's what we do. So it's ultimatecredibilitybootcamp.com. Looking forward to seeing you there. Reach out to myself if you have questions. Definitely reach out to Jordan if you want the world he's talking about to come faster. I do. I'm going to sign up as soon as I can. Jordan, thanks again for spending time and energy with us today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, Mitchell, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, guys, have a great rest of the day. We'll see you at the next episode of Leaders Living Their Values. Take care now. Bye.